We're not taught much about weird animal secrets in school, which is why there are videos like ours to help you catch up. Sometimes these secrets are just our household cat's deepest fears, while others are ones that are kept by large toads in the form of hidden weapons. And sometimes, these secrets are basically just a parasite controlling a caterpillar from the outside. Safe to say, we have some wacky stuff to tell you today. Let's get started. Why are bears scared of cats? Bears are huge carnivores that can literally scare us to death. But if you have a cat by your side, no grizzly is going to come near you. The question is, why would a 5-foot carnivore be scared of a cute little feline? The truth is, bears are scared of cats no matter what size or breed, and this mostly has to do with evolution. Big cats used to hunt down bears a long time ago, and some still do in particular regions. As for regular bears, whenever they see a regular cat, their biological response is to run thanks to their genetic information. Moreover, smaller felines are capable of taking down a bear. If you've seen their sharp claws and fast reflexes, then you know exactly what we're talking about. Besides, meat is a small part of a grizzly bear's diet. They're omnivores, and if plants are not enough, they go for fish. In short, they have no reason to mess with cats. Snakes are scared of cane toads. In Australia, if there's one creature that rules the whole continent, it's snakes. They're capable of devouring almost anything, except for this silly little toad that is not so little. The cane toads are the biggest true toads to ever exist. Not just that, they have poison glands in their skin, so that whenever something tries to eat them, they die instantly. Unfortunately, a natural predator of frogs are snakes. It's true that some snakes have developed immunity against these big toads, while many of them can still be easily killed even if they lick them. What's worse is that the tadpoles of these species are even worse. If they're digested, the animal dies on the spot. Here's the catch though, these toads lose their poison glands when they're just young toads, since they need to grow up really fast. And that is why only 0.5% of them reach adulthood. So if a snake tries to eat one, the chances of it surviving are completely dependent on those statistics. Parasitic wasps live inside live caterpillars. Bees are gentle creatures. They make a home wherever they think it's safe. Their cousins, wasps, are a different story. There is a whole species of parasitoid wasp that makes it their mission to eat up their host or make their home inside of another insect. One of those species waits till a butterfly larva turns into a full-blown caterpillar. Once that happens, the wasp lays its eggs inside, and when they reach the larva stage, they have a whole buffet to feed on. The caterpillar, from the outside, just looks like it's swelled up. The wasps then paralyze it. Like a zombie, they eat their way through the skin and boom, your nightmare has come true. A bunch of free larvae absolutely obliterate the old beaten up body of a caterpillar. Now wouldn't you be afraid if you weren't a caterpillar too? Hairworm eats cricket from the inside and controls its brain. Rain brings about a beautiful scent and greenery everywhere, and it also gives bugs and critters a reason to pop up on the surface. One of those critters is the hairworm. When a hairworm comes to the surface, it usually starts looking for a grasshopper or a cricket to basically hijack. Once the hairworm grows up to an adult, it starts to control the brain of the host. Usually, crickets like to eat mayflies, which is where most hairworm larvae live inside. This gives them an easy way to enter their host and make them their dead living car. That's not all. The worms eat up all the lipids the cricket has stored up, which stops the poor host from reproducing or even growing. Surprisingly, the worm keeps the cricket healthy enough to survive because it needs to use the locomotion it provides. After all, they need to go back to their actual home, the water. Tongue-eating louse. We're all aware of crabs and lobsters, but they have a cousin that's never invited to any family gathering. We're talking about the Chimathoa exigua. This fish parasite has a very weird way of living. It doesn't enter through the mouth, even though it's where the louse lives for a long time. The parasite enters through the gills and lives there until it matures, which is when it changes its sex from male to female. It then travels to the mouth, which will become her new permanent home. Obviously, in the fish's mouth, there's a huge tongue and not enough room for the parasite, so it simply bites the tongue and drains it of any blood. Basically, the dead tongue falls out and the parasite becomes the tongue. It lives there for its whole life and chews up food for the fish. They're the only creatures to mutilate their host's body and then replace it. At least they consider it. Asian hornet-killing bees. Everyone loves bees, and wasps we can tolerate them, but hornets are the real devils. These insects usually feed on beetles, but when August rolls around they start bee-hawking a lot more. It starts with them sweeping away 1 or 2 bees back to their nest to feed on them. When they get really hungry, that's when they plan a huge slaughter attack. These attacks are more brutal than a break-in. First, they rip apart the heads of the guard bees and move straight to the other bees, and go on a killing rampage. If the news of danger reaches the queen, they have a backup plan for that too. They can actually ball up around the bees that attack them in defense and then vibrate so violently that the heat they produce kills them. The temperature at the center of these fatal clusters can reach up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. This sounds more like the plot of an action movie than about hornets. The eye-inflating flatworm, Leucochloridium paradoxum. The insect world is more complicated than a bug's life made it out to be. Sometimes insects don't even have control over their own bodies. The Leucochloridium paradoxum, or better known as the eye-inflating flatworm, could be the reason. It all starts with a little mistake made by a snail that gobbles up the eggs of this flatworm. This gives the flatworm a nice home to feed in and also use to its own advantage. When the eggs mature, the flatworm manages to fill the snail's stalks. It makes the stalks look like they're wriggling about, attracting attention from the birds. Funnily enough, the infected snails are up to 3 times more active than the non-zombie ones. They do all this work just to get eaten by birds so they can find another place to launch their personal zombie apocalypse. Mother Nature needs to stop reading Stephen King's books. Vandellia chirosa parasite fish enters through genitals. At this point, it's pretty clear that sharks and big fish aren't what you need to be scared of. There are tiny little fish, such as the candiru, that should be enough to keep you out of the water. This fish has been known to enter the urethra of humans while they take a little bathroom break in the water. If that wasn't enough to fuel your nightmares, just know that it also has needle-like teeth that it uses to suck its host dry, which is why they're also known as the vampire fish. It's not just humans that it likes to suck out though. In fact, those are rare cases. Usually it will find a suitable fish and enter through their gill chamber. Then it simply cuts into the artery and lives there until either the fish dies or they die out. One lesson you can take from this is to go to the bathroom before leaving to go swimming. Millipedes hate lemurs. The most memorable character from Madagascar was the lemur king Julian XIII, and his very erratic behavior. That could be because he was high in millipedes, among other things. Real-life black lemurs mostly just eat fruit, but every so often they'll pick up a large red millipede and just gently bite it. Not eat it, just bite it. Almost like an edible that they bite, not ingest. Millipedes have paired glands in their legs that release a combination of chemicals to deter predators. So when they're picked, they're basically inviting lemurs to take a bigger hit because this chemical doesn't affect them. Other than the intoxicating effect, scientists think this chemical might also help them ward off pests and even malaria-carrying mosquitoes. That's all very practical, but imagine being the millipede in this case. Same biting torture every day, and you still don't die? No thanks. Why no one goes near hagfish.
Perfect.
For some time, the whole internet was obsessed with slime. Little did they know, the hagfish had been making its own since the beginning of time. The hagfish produces slime like every DIY YouTuber in 2015. These eel-like creatures release less than a teaspoon of this goo, and in less than 30 seconds it expands to 10,000 times. If they're in the water, this slime literally suffocates any predator or other fish around them. It's not sticky, it's just so much in quantity that it makes any place look like the Ghostbusters were here. An incident in Oregon occurred where a truck full of hagfish exploded, which stressed out the hagfish so much that it covered every car present in copious amounts of slime. So not only do fish hate slime, but also road cleaners. Why birds hate coconut crabs. The coconut crab, also known as the robber crab, has been titled monstrous by none other than the father of evolution. That should be enough reason to keep you away from them. Other than that, they also have pinchers big enough to hurt as much as a lion's bite. Like their name suggests, they mostly feast on coconuts and use their hard pincers on the fruit. However, they're omnivorous creatures and are always willing to eat birds, kittens, and even pigs when they have the chance. To top it all off, they're no strangers to cannibalism. They won't even hesitate to tear apart their own kinds when they're hungry. Locals on islands have multiple stories about how these crabs approach birds and break their wings in daylight with utmost brutality. They paralyze the bird by breaking their bones first and then take the meat back to their burrows to feast on. Weirdly enough, they might be involved in the death of the famous female aviator Amelia Earhart. In 1940, some researchers found a skeleton that had been torn apart by what seemed to be pinchers. Just put together the pieces and you'll realize how awful these creatures are. Why no fish goes near the blue-ringed octopus. The blue-ringed octopus might remind you of a real-life Pokemon, but they're not one of the animals that can be put in a petting zoo. Even though they're about 5 to 8 inches, these octopuses appear much brighter when they're alarmed, which is a sign to refrain from touching them. This tiny creature uses a venom so strong that it can kill you in about 15 minutes. The neurotoxin, tetrodotoxin, causes the person's face to go numb, and then their mouth and tongue go dry. In just a matter of minutes, the victim's body becomes paralyzed and the ability to talk completely ends at that point. Even though this sort of death occurs in just 15 minutes, it can seem like it's taking forever with how painful it can be. Unfortunately, this octopus uses its venom quite generously, especially during hunting. As soon as the venom enters the prey's exoskeleton, they are rendered helpless and paralyzed while the octopus brings out its fork and knife. In short, this creature doesn't have many friends, human or fish. Why penguins hate seals. As much as we all love seals and their little tricks, there's a very dark side to them. During the 50 years researchers were in sub-Antarctic island, they saw something very disturbing. A fur seal was mounted onto a king penguin and was forcibly trying to mate with a king penguin. This shocked the scientists because of the huge difference in their species. There have been so many recorded incidents of these seals not only trying to mate with the penguins but then killing them and devouring them as if nothing had happened. There are many theories that scientists are working on. Some say that this might be the work of an inexperienced and frustrated seal, or it could be a playful one that took a dark turn, or it could have been straight-up regular predation. Leopard seals are on a whole different level of this penguin hatred club. They clearly like to eat them, but they also like to play with other young penguins or seals in their sick, twisted way. They'll cut them off and keep chasing them until they get tired and then possibly eat them too. Where can we call the polar bear police? Why are cats scared of insects? Cats are descendants of wild cats and consequently some of the bravest animals. But they're still startled by grasshoppers, crickets and ants. They might look harmless to them, in fact they might even play with them, but the first two can cause severe oral irritation and gastrointestinal issues thanks to their hard exoskeleton. Ants on the other hand, especially fire ants, they're much worse. One bite can cause a serious allergic reaction which can lead to anaphylaxis. Don't even think about using chemical ant killers because even that can be a health risk to our feline friends. Even praying mantis are a cat hater. These tiny insects are not afraid of taking on larger prey, and that's why they've been seen feeding on snakes, frogs, mice, and feral cats too. The Chinese mantis is about 6 inches long and will not hesitate before biting your cat. Since cats are curious creatures and will try to play with one insect or the other, try to keep your house clean of them unless you want an unfortunate accident. Why a duck can never trust another duck. When you get bored, you'll probably resolve to watching a movie, listening to music, or playing a game, right? But not a duck. When it gets bored of relaxing in the pond, it decides that the best way to deal with boredom is by being a cannibal. The duck will go to another duck's nest and they'll kill and eat their duckling. It will crack open any egg and swallow whole the fully developed chick that was just about to hatch. There is literally a machine that is specially made just to trim the beaks off ducks to prevent this kind of behavior. You and I both know that you can't go through the trouble of making a machine for a rare occurring moment. How sea cucumbers give hagfish a run for their money. There are over 1,200 species of sea cucumber. There are some that look more similar to cucumbers than others, but regardless of their shape, they all eat poop. They usually scoop the poop using their tentacular tube feet. But if you think eating poop is the worst thing about them, then you are wrong. Their inbuilt defense system is what takes the crown. They trap their enemies using sticky threads just like hagfish do. They go a step further and mutilate their own bodies. They contract their muscles so hard that they eject some of their internal organs. How insane is that? Why bobbitt worm could be the most disturbing predator. Bobbitt worms are famous for giving their prey a merciless exit. The rainbow colors of their cuticle could be the only good thing about them. In fact, they are named after John Bobbitt's wife, Lorena, and let's just say she didn't do nice things. Bobbitt worms dig themselves into a hole in the ocean floor and await their prey. They have 5 antennae which help them to know when the prey is near. What follows is an ambush attack on the prey. It happens so fast that a fish can end up being split in two. And if the prey happens to survive that first attack, the bobbitt worm drags them into its burrow. Whatever happens there is just every animal's worst nightmare. Child kidnapping among penguins. Female emperor penguins happen to be the largest penguins, and their motherly instincts are just as much, or so we thought. When a female emperor penguin goes out and comes back to find her chick dead or missing, she feels a huge void within her. The void is too much that she has to fill it by raising another young one. No, she doesn't console herself until the next time she lays an egg. Instead, she decides to steal another couple's chick. Yes, you heard that right. Her solution is kidnapping. In a great turn of events, the urge of raising another chick fades away after some time. The female emperor penguin then begins to realize that the chick she is raising is not hers. So what does she do? She abandons it, leaving it to deal with the weather and predators by itself. Not so adorable, right? Alright, comment below any other crazy things you know about the animal world. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Forever Green, and we'll see you in the next one.